Photographer. Our VIP bartender up front is Daniel. At the front door, say hello to Nick. We also like to say hello to Clark, who's our general go-to guy around. Our bartenders are here. Take advantage of everyone, all the great speakers, all the amenities here tonight at the Oski Showroom for Los Angeles Innovation Week. Right after this song, we begin our speakers program. Thank you. So we can get a little focus down here, kind of get down to business, do a little edutainment, or do a little education with our entertainment. Enlighten you, inspire you, get you all excited for our amazing lineup of speakers tonight. 24 innovators from LA. So folks, come on down if you can. Grab a drink. Isn't this a wonderful space, guys and gals? Let's hear it from Biaski, Jeff Biaski and his team for being so generous in providing this wonderful space for tonight's event. Give it up, make some noise. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Art City, LA, a celebration of art, creativity, and culture for Los Angeles Innovation Week. I'm Mark Riva, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight as your host for this unique and exciting brief welcome here tonight to put everything into context and get us started. Thank you. As I said, we're very excited to be here at the Oski, a premier showroom of original modern furniture led by furniture designer Jeff Biaski. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff, take a bow. Art City LA, folks, is a proud participant of Los Angeles Innovation Week, which is a county-wide celebration of the great depth and breadth of innovation and creativity here in Los Angeles. A week-long series that began on Monday and runs all the way through Sunday the 12th. Los Angeles Innovation Week showcases conferences, events, and gatherings such as Art City LA to celebrate and highlight the achievements of the pioneering people, organizations, and companies that make LA one of the most innovative regions in the world. Thank you all again for being here and for supporting this vision. And I invite you all to stay in touch following this event as we build our way towards 2015 and hopefully to start this successful series in January for Los Angeles Arts Month. Okay, give it up for arts. Folks, tonight at this special showcase, Art City proudly spotlights 24 innovative tastemakers representing a mosaic of Los Angeles arts, creativity, and culture. And they are, and when I do call your names, please stand up and wave. Beginning with furniture designer Jeff Biaski. Interior designer Kelly Sutton. Architect and artist Therese Kelly. Multidisciplinary artist Tanya Nolan. Tyler Stonebreaker of Creative Space. John Wander of the UR Art Festival. Christos Joneeds of Flat 6 Concepts. And Lance of Vortex Immersion Media. Artist Jenna Didier of Materials and Application. Alvin Huang of Synthesis Design and Architecture. Brandon Smith of Decoup Media and the 26. Stephen Yemen of Conscious Entertainment Group. Always good to be conscious. Ivan Day of Furniture, Accessories and Interior Design Shop ID Studio. There he is. Gina Christensen of 27 Ground for Woven Accents, folks. Corinne Steffens, author of Decor and the Single Girl. Marcello Spina, Patterns, Architectural Design. Rubenk Ozel of Ozel Office, an interdisciplinary design firm. Laura Hunt, celebrity fashion stylist and image consultant. Margot Ross at the Bois Noir Gallery at Pacific Design Center. Cassie Awagi of Form Landscaping, Form LA Landscaping, yes indeed, and the Theodore King Foundation. We also have Ingrid Vinning of Tongle, Inc.'s 500 fast-growing crowdsourced social video platform. Another high-tech standout, Blake Miller of 10 Grade, named LA's hottest startup by readers of Tech Cocktail. We also have Ivo Venkoff of PAA Studio, Progressive Architecture and Art Collaborative. And finally, Nicole Sassaman, celebrity interior designer and builder and author of 100 Sassy Tips. Again, he was very generous in giving each and every one of us here tonight an autographed copy of her book, so please make sure you pick up a copy before you leave this evening. With that said now, I know you're all anxious to get on with the show. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's raise our glass and toast to art, creativity, culture, and innovation, LA style, for LA Innovation Week, and to yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, as we kick into our speakers program now, we appreciate your patience. So happy to have you here, and so excited to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Jeff Vioski of Vioski Furniture. A designer gifted with the vision as well as the training of an architect, Jeff Vioski grew up in the design culture of Chicago. Holding a master's degree in architectural design from the University of Wisconsin, Jeff began his career as a high-end residential architect for Sutherland Architectural in Lake Forest, Illinois. After 3 years with Sutherland, Jeff relocated to Seattle where he worked for the commercial architecture firm Group West. Jeff left Group West to form his own firm specializing in residential architecture and interior design, and he began to design furniture. Jeff's style fully developed when he moved to Los Angeles and opened the first Vioski showroom right here, folks, with his business partner, Doug DeSantis. Speaking of this, how did you become a furniture designer?
By accident. I was doing architecture up in Seattle, and most of my clients were Microsoft. Microsoft at the time, I think it was 2001 or something, their stock was 140. And I had 2 clients going and designing houses, and then 2 months later, their stock was at 43. and it just plummeted, and so did my clientele. And so it was really bad in Seattle there for a while. And so my business partner, he said, we both wanted to get out because they just had their 3rd record rainy season up in Seattle, and I couldn't take it anymore. It was insane. So he said, we need sun, we moved to California, what are we gonna do? How about furniture? I'm like, all right, I've doodled it, I love it, let's see if I can do it. And so that's basically how it started.
Fantastic. Jeff, what is your favorite piece here? Could you point it out and kind of explain it a little bit?
Well, I think my favorite piece is the Tula chair right now. The big pillow. It's kind of like a bunch of pillows. It's incredibly comfortable. It actually takes our upholsterer 9 hours to upholster, not including the frame, springing, or anything else. It takes 9 hours to upholster this damn chair. Yeah, we told him we might have an order for 35, and he's not happy. But this is the one that just has a lot of motion in it, and if you sit in it, it's very comfortable. And just the simplicity. I think it came out as one of my cleanest designs. But I do have a lot of things. I love the cozy. I would love to sink this one into a floor. That would be amazing. But they're all my babies, I guess. But I have favorites.
Do you think about building furniture into architecture?
I do. I have, even though I don't do architecture anymore, I have I'm a residential architect, and I love these big, wide open spaces. I'm always building, at least on my computer, the furniture into the floor, so when you're on the back of the piece, you could sit on it, but because it's 2 steps down, now you have a sofa down below. And so the whole room kind of does this, and you can sit anywhere and be anywhere, and not feel like you're in the back of it. I'm with it.
Jeff, where do you see design heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a hard one, just because who wants to predict? But I would say everything is possible now. Modern. You have.
I know this thing.
Modern came in, during the mid-century, had its lane, and now it's really appreciated, so it's never going away. It's actually taking over more of the market, I believe, traditional when I started was about 85%, and traditional will never go away, and a lot of it's just incredibly beautiful.
Are you filming now?
But I think more modern, more flexibility, you're going to see memories of the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, and the 40s, all just coming back in and being used. Kind of like fashion.
And would you overall say that that's sort of innovative from your perspective? Within the context of innovation, what is innovative?
I think when innovation comes from technology, and as we get new materials, I think that will push the envelope of what you can create. And just imagination. I don't think we're ever going to run out of imagination. So innovation will always push forward.
Any final words for the audience here tonight as we head into our speakers program?
Well, welcome. Welcome to Viosky. Enjoy yourself. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I'll try to answer them. But welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Folks, let's give it up for Jeff Viosky. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tyler Stonebreaker, our first speaker tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Mark. So, it sounds like a lot, but the basic idea of creative space was more born out of my own personal experience, sort of going down the career path that most people do, and sort of working in a system that just started becoming soul-sucking. And then I also was living in the city and looked around and wondered how certain things happened. Like, I referenced the junction at Silver Lake as a great example of how just things came together naturally. And then I kind of reference things that are more constructed and say, okay, how does that happen? Yeah. Okay, sorry. So So the general idea sort of was born out of that, and then I decided to take an indefinite leave from my career and figure out what I wanted to do. And then in 2009, bottom of the recession, it occurred to me that there was going to be a change coming out of this recession, that it was going to be more systemic than just another correction, if you will. And I also wanted to do something that wasn't soul-sucking. So the general idea was to put together a company that would actually do interesting things with real estate. And so we originally started working for studios, entertainment companies, and so forth. And then a company called Handsome Coffee came to us in Hollywood and said, we want to go to the Arts District. And we said, okay. And helped them along the way, and that became kind of this transition from being more of an entertainment studio real estate company to being more or less a community building company. So we've been in the Arts District and for a long time, for the last 3+ years. We've worked on 30+ projects there, and basically we're just helping facilitate interesting things, when it comes to neighborhoods and development and so forth. I think, I refer to myself as a recovering developer from the standpoint of, I don't think the built environment really cares or understands what's happening. They're trying to now, so we're just a company that's in the marketplace trying to actually bring those interesting things to market, so to speak. Reference a couple interesting projects. We are overseeing what will be one of the largest galleries in the United States for Hauser and Wirth Schimmel in downtown LA, which is going to be a really exceptional gallery and art center in downtown, worked on studio spaces and programming and so forth. So real estate in general isn't that interesting, so I'm not going to sort of go into it, but I just think the idea is that we are in a different marketplace today, and there's a lot of interesting things happening, and there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, just like a film. There's a lot of people involved, and I think we're just one of those groups involved in bringing great things to.
Gentlemen, please welcome Therese Kelly.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. So, I believe that Los Angeles is capable of continual adaptation and change. It's a city that is always in the process of becoming. We're at the forefront here in LA of so many challenges, but challenges that many cities will only face in the next decades, and we're already solving them now. We're taking back our urban river. We're replacing parking with public space and transit. And we're coming together to share our ideas and collaborate, like we're doing tonight, to inspire and to encourage each other. My practice is place-based and social. I'm interested in activating our everyday landscapes, ordinary places where we live and work, and making them extraordinary and alive. I like to empower and engage others to use the city more joyously, more thoughtfully, more sustainably. With just a few upgrades, tweaks, perceptual shifts, we can continue to make this a city that we want to live in. We can do it through art, through play, through participation and collaboration. What can art do to create a resilient city? What can art do to provide earthquake safety? What can art do to confront sea level rise and drought? Art can bring us together. Art can change our perceptions. It can engage us in meaningful play. It can cause us to reflect and to ask questions about the world we think we know. For example, my recent project, I Heart Water, looks at our emotional connection to water with a playful relationship questionnaire called How's Your Water Relationship? So tonight, I'd like to challenge you to think about water in the same way that you might think about a romantic partner. And I leave you tonight with a few questions to ponder from this water relationship survey. How do you like to spend time with water? What first attracted you to water? Does your water relationship encourage you to grow as a person? You can find a link to this questionnaire at my website, tariqkelly.com, and I encourage you to take it. It's fun, it's poetic, and it's transformative. And you can also find a link to my collective, the Los Angeles Urban Rangers, where we are currently creating a film about downtown Los Angeles with the belief that through participation and our best creative efforts, Los Angeles can truly become a more equitable, sustainable, and livable city. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marcello Spina.
It's nice to be here. So, in our practice as architects, we believe in an architecture that can span multiple scales. We can move from designing the material level, designing actually a bracelet, small product that can actually interact with the body, where we design the material, all the way to buildings and large complex projects, including a kind of, like a large urban scale project, 2 million square feet that actually we're working right now in downtown Los Angeles. So we're interested in designs across scales. One of the problems that I see today, and this is maybe my concern that I want to put out there, I don't know if it's a festive one or not, but is that there seems to be a problem with the architectural icon. There seems to be a concern from society in terms of how we feel architecture should do. And especially being in LA, being Angelino, I guess for adoption, we have to be at the forefront of this. There seems to be a sort of a kind of a failed dichotomy between the idea that architecture cannot produce form, cannot produce bold formalism, rich materials, sensation-making conditions, and not kind of engage civic responsibility and engage the society and engage social conditions. This is completely false, and we're actually meant to believe this. And I'm talking to everyone here because everyone actually has a stake on this, especially developers, clients, and so on. We're all design-minded, but this is actually quite an important thing. So I'm sort of acting as a lawyer. I think it's an important issue to be, there's a lot of talk about sustainability, and sustainability is not being green. Sustainability is our ability to sustain. But I'd like to argue that we can only sustain what we really like. And this is the role of the icon in architecture. So I'd like to consider the idea of an icon, to reimagine the idea of an icon in architecture. That building that sort of moves you, the things in downtown Los Angeles, icon with a capital I, architecture with a capital A. This is what we're interested in doing, and I feel that in Los Angeles we have a responsibility. When I moved here 2001, I came because this place was not only at the center of the movie industry, it was beginning to be the capital of art, was definitely and undoubtedly the center of architecture. This is not only a place where we actually make architecture, not only we actually film the city, we make the city and we make the future of architecture. This is what we're trying to do in our office, and I hope you will support us, and I hope you will support a lot of people like us. Thank you.
Jenna Didier.
Thank you, Margarita, Bioski for hosting, and Francis Anderson for getting me up here. It's a big challenge for me as an artist to convey what I do without images. This challenge is actually what brought me out tonight. Untethered from the PowerPoint, I could talk to you about the inspirations and goals of my work. MP4 ART, the nonprofit I founded a dozen years ago, has been much noted and celebrated for its innovative and eye-popping projects. But the real strength of what we do is the underlying goal of our organization, to go beyond being innovative for the sake of novelty and strike out into areas of the built environment where we can produce true cultural change by shifting the desires and expectations of our culture. The projects we produce in M&A go further than any place in the world when it comes to innovation in a public space. We've built misting robotic gardens, inflatable shifting sky landscapes that respond to a gentle nudge. We've built rainwater-fed ponds full of gesturally responsive creatures, massive corset-shaped thermodynamic canopies that bristle in the heat of the sun to become porous and release that heat. And we've been joined by teams of volunteers, professionals, students, and neighbors who have shown up over the past decade plus to get blisters on their hands and make all these projects and others possible. Last night, for example, at M&A, we were literally raising the roof on a new structure that's being created by an Australian artist, Stevie Rogers. This is an earthquake/disaster responsive structure, yo. When a neighbor goes by and calls out to us that this is the best front yard in the entire first world. And I said, okay, the best front yard in the entire first world. What does that mean? Were they saying that the third world front yards are better? Do they realize how much money we spend to do these things? Because, you know, I agree with them. I think, yes, they are. In the third world, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Kelly Sutton.
Too much. Yes, I'm gonna skip the first half of my whole spiel because he just did it. But I have had the amazing opportunity to live internationally and have a great perspective on design from those experiences, but somehow LA has always drawn me back in. There's just something about the city that is hard to describe. And even being from Louisiana, during college thank you. Oh yeah. I was just dying to get out here and was doing everything I could possibly to get out here. And even after working internationally, I still felt that I barely scratched the surface of what the creative community here is in LA. And so finally, after working for 10 years in the industry, I started my own business 2 years ago so that I could really be a part of this creative community. And I feel like I now have everything at my fingertips. I couldn't imagine being a designer in another city. I feel like it would be very difficult. I can literally run downtown and be at a factory, getting my hands dirty, working on a piece of furniture, figuring out the proportions, the size, the details, and bringing something to life. For example, when I was working on the Greystone Mansion last year, my inspiration was not just Swarovski. She's the woman behind the Swarovski Crystal Company. And I had this challenge to make this elegant, beautiful, classy space and bring crystal into the space in an unexpected way. So I approached a rug manufacturer. I was like, what can I do to bring crystal into the space in a very elegant way? And in the end, I designed a custom rug, and they had these beautiful smoky gray Swarovski crystals sewn into the rug, and it became this wow factor piece. And I continue to use these manufacturers as a partner in my design.
It's marvelous. You should care for me. It's awfully nice. It's paradise. It's what I love to see. You made my life so glamorous. You can't blame me for feeling amorous. Oh, it's wonderful, marvelous that you should care for me. It's wonderful, it's marvelous that you should care for me. It's awful nice, it's paradise. It's what I love to see. My dear, it's 4-leaf clover time. From now on wonderful, marvelous that you should care for me. Marvelous, you should care for me.
Give it up for Cassie Awayagi.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Jeff Yoski, for having us here. Mark, you've done so much to put this thing together. It's amazing. So, I actually have some incredibly important advice for you all tonight. And it comes from years of experience and training. Don't lick the balls. Now, I know that sounds like the worst advice you've ever heard, but bear with me. From the time I was 5, I was on the junior golf circuit, and I played tournaments throughout Los Angeles. The fairways were my second home, and my home away from home was covered in poison. Now, golfers have a common practice of cleaning their balls with their saliva. Anyone play golf around here? Yes. Okay, so on the putting green, they mark their ball, they wash it, they put their fingers back in their mouth, and every time they do that, they're ingesting poison. This is chemicals from fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides. And for the main reason that the predominant grasses and plants that we use are not from here. They cannot sustain themselves here. They're non-native. They haven't adapted here or evolved here over millions of years. And they can't withstand our local environment. They have no resistance to our local native pests, and they definitely cannot withstand our cycles of drought. And herein lies the problem. Well, I have some good news. For every one of the non-native plants that are your favorites and that you absolutely love, there is a California native counterpart that's just as beautiful. And with a little bit of homework, you can actually make this change. And in this instance, the innovation is at its simplest form. The simplicity is embrace nature. You can actually save the world with your plant choices. Or we can continue to surf in polluted waters. We can keep importing our water at the expense of the environment. We can continue battling the cycle of floods and fires, restructure our water rights, and on and on and on. Well, by the time I was 16 years old, I was absolutely clear I did not want to be a golfer. So today, I visit Angelinos and I help them at their homes restore their yards and their landscapes, and oftentimes we talk about the rebates and how to change a traditional lawn to an eye to my website, formulainc.com. And I have a couple little giveaways. So during the 2-minute break, the first 5 people that walk up to me and tell me that they've applied for a lawn rebate will get a package of California native poppy seeds. And the first person that walks up to me and tells me that they're a member of the Theodore Payne Foundation will get a limited print from Laura Stickney of a Matilla hot poppy. And I'll be standing over by my brochures over there. Thank you guys.
Thanks everybody. I was gonna start this speech out sort of fucking with everyone and 30 seconds of uncomfortable silence, but I'm just kind of going to move into the speech. So I'm going to talk today about discomfort and how discomfort is really a key to innovation. So I will start off by telling you that any good friend of mine will tell you that I overthink things a lot. And because of that, I sort of live in this space of uncomfortableness. Whether that be in my personal life and these earth-shattering decisions I need to make, such as who to invite to my birthday party, or my professional life and selling a piece and dealing with sort of the awkwardness of the monetary transaction afterwards, to life as an artist and kind of overanalyzing things like our relationship to technology, exploring materials within that. And which materials are going to convey that relationship the best. So luckily I know my process at this point very intimately. So usually I start off thinking, oh my God, this is going to be the most amazing idea, I'm so excited about it. And then I get into the execution stage and I think, this is the dumbest idea you've ever come up with. And that's where the discomfort really sets in. So at that point, I've done it enough times that I know I have to embrace it. And luckily, usually, so start out high, get to a real low point where I think, oh my God, this is so dumb. Luckily, it usually ends up on the higher level. So as Mark mentioned, I use artificial materials, and that could be, alternative materials. That could be anything from artificial turf to 10,000 eggshells and neon to painting with wax on mirrors. And the inconsistency of materials makes it exciting, and it fills my studio with the most random things imaginable. But the consistency of my work really comes from process and the tension within the process, and in addition, the tension that the work itself creates. I believe that discomfort creates growth. Embracing it not only allows us to see the questions we should be asking, but lets us look at things in a different light, spurring this growth. So art to me, just like science, philosophy, psychology, is a search for truth. And to get there, we have to ask ourselves these questions, not just as an artist, myself, but you as the viewer. It becomes a dialogue between the artist and the viewer. The questions are often messy and uncomfortable, and this is where we grow and become more dynamic. So before this talk, I wasn't really quite sure what to say. I feel like everybody here is kind of a creative and naturally a little innovative, so I wasn't quite sure what I could actually add to that. But this is it, embrace discomfort. It's how we grow as individuals, how we grow as a society, and it's really the seed for true innovation.
Viney.
I'm really excited to be here on behalf of Tongle, the company that I work for. I'm the head of community there. As Mark said, we connect creative people like yourselves with opportunities. And Tongle was really born from frustration with the old Hollywood model. So kind of this idea that all of the creative work was being done by the same people, and if you wanted to get your movie made, you kind of had to choose from this list of 10 screenwriters who had been approved by the studio. And so along with that idea, really we believe in the idea that creativity is abundant and that the next great idea can come from anyone in the world. And so our platform was born, and we are an online website. Anyone in the world can join, and it's free to join, and then you can access all sorts of creative work that brands have posted up. It unrolls in a multi-phase process. So first, people can submit ideas, and then the next phase, the filmmakers come on board, and anybody can submit a video. And then some of our videos have been Super Bowl commercials, videos that people post on their Facebook or YouTube pages. And just last week, we're really excited to announce that we're doing a project with Lionsgate and Stephanie Meyer, who wrote the Twilight Saga. And so through our platform, the next 5 short films in the world of Twilight will be made. And so they'll be open up to any creatives in the world who can participate. And so we're really democratizing the way that creative work gets done, and we're really excited about it. We'd love it if you checked it out, and you can definitely get involved at
So over the past few days, I've been thinking a lot about what the word innovation means to me. And for me, it's not about innovation for innovation's sake. It's about looking inside myself, following my gut, and uncovering the story that wants to be told. It's the story that makes the work meaningful for me. It's the story that inspires the design, and it's the story that gives me the courage to want to be an innovator. I didn't know how important storytelling was to my process for many years. For more years than I'd like to admit, actually. I waded through my career, moving from job to job, searching for a speck of fulfillment without knowing really where to look. After years of developing and selling product for other companies, I decided to create my own brand. I went to India and Nepal, developed a high-end area rug line, and 27 Ground was born. But I still had a problem. I couldn't shake the dull feeling of dissatisfaction and very often thought to myself, really, I make rugs for a living? But I kept moving forward, and about a year after I started my business, I had a chance meeting on Robertson Boulevard that helped me discover what was missing. My car had been blocked by a UPS truck. I was late for a meeting and running frantically up and down the boulevard in search of the driver when I ran smack into someone. That someone was the artist Shepard Fairey. Now, having just seen Mocha's Art the Streets and the documentary Exit Through the Gift Shop, this meeting really had a huge impact on me. I had become so intrigued by street art and the passion behind it, it caused me to look at my own work in a totally different way. I mean, here was a group of artists that believed so strongly in what they do, they were willing to get arrested for it. I saw the passion and the bravery it takes to put yourself and your message out in the world in such a public way, and it made me want to be brave, to look inside myself and figure out, what do I feel that strong about?
As Mark said, I am the founder and editor of Deacon Media. I actually started out in the interiors industry with all of y'all. I practiced for 14 years and got tired of the politics and the bullshit and all that crazy jazz. And there are a lot of other things that I love, and not all of that was designing commercial spaces. So I went out, and about a year ago, I launched Deacon Media. We started focusing on the luxury industry, and which led into our magazine, which launched in February, called The 26. Now, a big thing for me is, you know, when you hear the word luxury, the first thing everyone thinks of is the bag on their arm, the shoes that they're wearing, or the car that they drive. We are changing that, because that's not what everyone thinks luxury really is. And I want everyone to really ask yourself, how do you define luxury? I asked that question to everybody, and I've heard answers from a cold shower and a beer, to a nap, minus spontaneity, which is why you do not see me holding any sort of papers right now, because I like to wing it and fly by the seat of my pants. And that's really where our focus is. Every brand has a story to tell, every artist has a backstory, every product has a how it came to be, and that is what we want to focus on, because right now there are very few, if any, publications that really do a great job of getting behind the scenes and talking to the artists and finding out why that pair of shoes is $700. My husband's over there, so he's like nodding his head, giving me dirty looks. Because I have a couple of those pairs, but anyway. So that is, that's really my short story. Really, it is the redefinition of luxury. Like I said, ask yourself that question. And my advice, because I know there's a lot of advice coming around, is tell your story. Everybody has a story, like I said, and everybody wants to hear it. If the luxury marketplace is associated with experience and the stories behind. That's what sells a product. That's what
Sorry, there were a lot of French words in there. Sorry for the pronunciation. My name is Margot Ross, and I have been now in Los Angeles for the last 2 years, working on a variety of art projects, and recently founded Guatemala Gallery with Gregory Bernard at the Pacific Design Center. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Pacific Design Center, but it's, they call it the Blue Whale, and it's on Melrose, and every couple months we have events. And the next event that's coming up is the Design Lab event on Friday, November 14th, so you're all invited. And there's openings in 11 different galleries on the second floor of the Pacific Design Center in the Design Lab, and the MoCA is actually exceptionally open to the public at night that evening as well. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here in LA. And it's been kind of interesting coming to LA from a background of living in Canada, in Montreal, living in Paris, living in Washington, D.C., and coming here and kind of discovering an entirely new art world. And it's been pretty exciting, and I think that there's so much innovation and so many things happening in the city right now.
That bass. No trouble. I'm releasing a new song tonight. Every time I turn on the radio, that song is on. Thank you, Mark, for that fabulous introduction. I actually, 3 years ago, a friend of mine helped me drive a 16-foot U-Haul truck across country to LA to start my new chapter. It was like Thelma and Louise, minus the convertible, minus Brad Pitt and the murder, and going over the cliff. So it was nothing like Thelma and Louise. But anyway, I was traveling from Florida to New York to LA, Florida to New York and LA, over and over again, and I decided that I needed to choose one of those places to be my home. And every time I came out to LA, I always went back with like this renewed vigor, this excitement, this energy that was so amazing. Like I went back like the female Tony Robbins to all of my friends. I mean, I know that I completely unnerved them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love LA, it's so exciting out there, everyone has so much energy, there's so much excitement, and you know, it was true. Like every time I came out here and I worked on a new project, like everyone had these new ideas and everyone had like these just plans to do something really big, and you know, a lot of dreamers, and sometimes people look down on that, but I don't. Like, I think it's possible to make anything happen. So I chose LA as my home, and I moved out here 3 years ago, and since then I have styled the covers of GQ, Maxim, Esquire, and a bunch of other magazines that I can't pronounce without showing that I'm a Midwest farmer's daughter from Missouri. It's true. And I am Asian and I'm 5'10", so let's be clear with that right now. Anyone that's questioning, I know some of you are wondering, it's true. So after I did a lot of just different celebrity styling, I had the opportunity to do a lot of television segments, and I still do a lot of television segments with Fox, with CNN, with CBS, with ABC. They have me on as a style expert, and I absolutely love it. So a year ago, I kicked off my new events business, and it's called Style Hunt Events, which is S-H-E, she for short. And my first event is next week in New York, and it's a sold-out event. And there's a lot of great publications coming out: Vogue, Marie Claire, Cosmopolitan, Fox, ABC, all of those, you know, but enough about me. So anyway, enough about me. So my point is, like, I moved out to LA because I really love the energy that was out here. I love the possibilities. I love just everyone that I met on set, that every project that I did was just so exciting and had so much enthusiasm. And there's going to be bad everywhere you go. There's going to be the doubters and the naysayers, and you know, there's going to be all of those people in any city that you go to. But one thing that I loved about LA was that everything that everyone said, they believed it in their heart. They believed it in their soul. Like, this is my dream, this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to make it happen. And I love that. Like, it almost makes me want to cry. You know, like, I really believe in supporting one another and embracing, like, you know, all of the things that you believe in, that you want to do, like, believe it, achieve it. Like, I know that That sounds like really cheesy to some people, but I totally believe it. And you know, the one thing about the world out there is that there's a lot of dreamers, but what I have discovered in LA is that there's a lot of doers.
Justice. When I moved to Los Angeles in the tail end of 1999, I was a single mother and I was homeless. I was about 21 years old and I had no direction. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was actually a stripper. So I was a high school dropout, still a high school dropout now well, you know, besides my certification and all, but I've never done all the things I think that people told you you should do, when you should do them, how you should do them. What I loved about Los Angeles is that it allowed me to be whoever I wanted, however I wanted, whenever I wanted, and it allowed me to become who I am today. I think that is innovative. I think that going against tradition, going against blueprints, going against everything that people told you you should or should not be, and being exactly who you want to be, when you want to be it, how you want to be it, is innovative. I am from a very small island called St. Thomas. We're about a 27-mile island. And no one comes from St. Thomas. No one makes it out alive. No one becomes anything. And you just kind of, you're born there and you kind of just die there and no one ever knows your name. I was never okay with that. I wrote my first book when I was 5 years old. It was about kindergarten, and I've been writing ever since. When I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't have a life. I wasn't living. Excuse me. Huh? I wasn't living. I was surviving. And then what happened to me along the way is that I realized there was a big difference between living and surviving. We see people here in this town every day just surviving and not living. And I began to wonder, what was it that would make me live? What I had to do to live a life, not just survive in this place that movies are written about and songs are written about. What did I have to do to live here? Because people told me, for those of you who are not born here, people told me you can't live in that place. Oh, they're gonna chew you up, they're gonna spit you out, you'll never make it in that town. When I began to think about all those things, how can I live here when everyone said I can't? How can I create a life here? I began to think about my lifestyle. And growing up and looking at Elvis Presley movies, we had 4 channels on a black and white TV on this small island where the power went out every 5 minutes. And I learned about this place called Los Angeles from these movies, and I wanted to be there, and I wanted to live there. I wanted to create things, and I didn't know what I wanted to create. And all I knew how to do was write. And my mother taught me one thing that I never forgot, and that was good furniture. Because we have hurricanes, and our houses flood and our roofs get ripped off our houses, and every year you're gonna be underwater for a few weeks, and you gotta buy good furniture, and it's gotta last you your whole life through all of this. She taught me how to recognize real wood from veneers and good durable fabrics from crap, and I learned that so early, and I was so obsessed with it, and I thought, this is how you live. It sounds so silly, but yet so fundamental and indigenous. It was wood. It was just wood, and I'm from a place where all we have is water, sand, wood. And I began to create things in my mind. I began to form a lifestyle, and I stopped surviving. I decided that I would create this idea that let's not build our lives around and design our lives around what we already had. Let's design it around the things we desire and deserve. Just because you are just two people, don't buy a table and 2 chairs. Let's buy a table that sits 9 people, because that's who we want at our table. And if you don't have 7 more friends, you find those 7 friends to fill up that table. You design your lives around what you desire, your core need, that thing inside of your body that aches, that tells you who you want to be. That's what Creating Company does, and that's what I implore all of you to do, is not to design your lives around what you already have, but around what you want, what you deserve, what you desire, who you want to be.
There's a lot of people in town losing their jobs in the visual effects industry, and the space I've been working on for years is actually on an upswing. Special venue, theme parks, creating immersive environments. What we're doing is merging the world of visual effects, in which you can create any world that you can imagine, basically. And we're merging that with real spaces and architectural spaces. So you actually bring the visual effect story world into a physical space as if you're actually there. And that's the gist of it. Of course, now all the lights get replaced with video projectors, and all the light hitting all the surfaces is actually intelligent pixels. The environment knows who you are because you have an active RFID band, so you can reach into the cloud, pull your personal data out of the cloud, throw it onto a table, and share photos and stuff with people with gestures, right? If there's a little ball on the floor, you kick the ball and it shoots fire because you're a fire avatar, and someone else kicks it and butterflies, whatever. Yeah. So this is all coming, this is all tech that we've been working on. We have a studio downtown. We activate a lot of artists. Visual effects. What's cool, it's very multidisciplinary. So writing code, designing physical architectural spaces, video projection, just tons of different disciplines come together to create these spaces. So it's fun stuff. And I get bored easy, so I need to keep myself entertained. So anyway, Vortex Immersion, we do live shows. We have some shows coming up called Ceremony. James Hood from the Pretenders, and he's created this cool show with lots of beautiful mandala type art. So anyway, vorteximmersion.com if you're interested, and that's all.
Where's Cake? Okay, is to make it extremely easy to share opinions about anything in the world with your social circle or with the whole world. And I'm using the word opinion in a kind of special case here, meaning just the degree to which somebody likes or dislikes something. So I think people already have really excellent tools for sharing complex opinions that are articulated on the internet in blogs and everything. But I think that we are missing tools for sharing extremely concise opinions that can be distilled down to a numerical score index, where 5 means I don't care about it, 10 is I am addicted to it, and 0 I'm completely repulsed by it. And the idea is that if we can make it easy enough to share information of that particular style, that this becomes a powerful tool for people to crowdsource as a kind of research arm for each other. So communities can be research firms for each other and provide instantly accessible, diverse information about what different kinds of people think about different things in the world.
Thank you very much. It's really an honor to be here, especially being a music festival among some incredibly talented contributors to art. And you know, this is really, we're really honored because when we set out to do this, this whole festival started over on lunch at dim sum. We call it dim sum and then some. Because we were literally like having dim sum in San Francisco, and we've been friends for 10, 15 years, DJing, doing electronic music events for years. And we were just like, you know, it's about time we should do something together. And so like, yeah, well, what do we do? What do we do? Well, we want something different, you know? So we're like, well, let's do music, right? DJs and music, great music and DJs, and then let's have art and live art. And it kind of sounded like a total stoner conversation, right? Let's do this and that. And it was really, it almost was. And so it's like, we do live art, and then, but then it's got to be sustainable, right? I'm an ex-pro surfer. I'm really against plastic and all that. And then my other partner and I, two of us have 4-year-old kids, so we make it kid-friendly. But it also had to be where everybody could participate. So it became one of these, festivals where we tried to link, music to art, art to sustainability, to interactive with good food, and we decided the place to do that was actually in LA, because we're going to San Francisco or LA, San Francisco or LA, and my other partner Phil lives in Berlin, so that was probably a little bit too far for us. But I have an announcement to make in a minute about that. But so it was a total experiment, to be honest. We decided let's just try it, and we really been talking about doing something for years. And then the first one we did was, it went off really, really well. We had about 1,500 people, and then one of our artists is over in the crowd there, Ivo Vergara, was one of our first artists, and he's painting live, and we got recognized by Juxtapose. They heard about the party, and all of a sudden they got involved and wanted to be the curator of the artist. And then next came this group that had the solar power, and like, look, we want to solar power the event. And it really became a collective of all these incredible people in LA that came together to really put this on. And so it was really rewarding for us. Again, it was a big experiment, and we did 4 this summer at Bergamot Station, and they went really well. And so now we're looking at, it worked really, really well, and where could this go next? And so now we're going to take it to Art Basel in Miami in December, and then we're going to do another one, our first one at the BPM Music Conference in Playa del Carmen, Tulum. And then we're looking at maybe doing once a month in Berlin next summer, because there's so many artists there, and we're actually opening an accelerator office there. So it's growing, and again, it's it's really an honor to be here, because part of my other background is I've been in web startups for 10 years or more, and I've never gotten an award for innovation. I did this music festival, so I'm really passionate about it. I get an award for or knowledge for doing innovation.
My work as an architect and as an educator and as a researcher is heavily involved with technology and the opportunities for technology to provide what we call disruptive innovation for change. And I know most of you out there, and I've seen most of you using these things, have one of these. And what this is it's technology that has changed things. So I have 2 small young children, 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so I read a lot about children. And one of the interesting things that I've read about is the fact that the current generation of children, if you were to show them a rotary phone, they not only push the numbers, they push the numbers with their thumb. Because for them, buttons are thumb devices. They go to an elevator, they push the button with their thumb. What I'm interested in is not designing for technology, but designing with technology. And so thinking about how architecture, and particularly in Los Angeles, architecture has always been inspired by and driven by technology. And so earlier Jeff Biaski over here talks about the mid-century modern movement and innovations that came with that. Mid-century modern movement, and particularly the California mid-century modern movement, is entirely driven by advances in technology and post-industrial mass production and changes in contemporary cultural lifestyle. And that's what I'm very interested in exploring, and using technology to design with these things. So The work that we're doing explores how we use digital fabrication, how we use parametric modeling, how we use associative geometries, computational programming as design techniques to inform the way we design and to produce things that are, we think, highly innovative. Some examples, we recently completed a portable, solar-powered, rapidly deployable charging station for the Volvo V60 plug-in electric hybrid car that folds up and fits inside the trunk of the car and then flat packs and assembles in less than 45 minutes, charges the car in 12 hours. That said, 12 hours is a long time, but when you plug it into the wall, it's 6 hours, so it's, you know, we're gaining a little bit of ground. We're also currently producing a 3D printed multi-material chair produced by Stratasys. This is a chair that is entirely 3D printed, can be, it's entirely driven by a digital process, sent to the manufacturer. They print directly from our files with a multi-material printer, which allows the entire chair to be soft where it needs to be soft, hard where it needs to be hard, all in one monolithic form. That's pretty much where we're at right now, but I would like to end with the same. I'm really not used to not speaking without slides. Normally there's a lot of images to back up what I'm saying, and I'm in the corner, and the slides are over there, so it's weird to have everybody looking at me, not at the work. But I always end with one slide, and it's a photograph of the very first car, and it's a quote by Michael Weiser. Michael Weiser is the godfather of ubiquitous computing, and his quote basically says that technology has its strongest impact when it disappears. And that image I used because the first lecture I gave was at a conference called Digital Architecture, and so I ended with that slide, the term digital architecture, the term digital struck out. And that car, some 100 odd years ago, was known as a horseless carriage. Now, some 100 years later, nobody gives a shit that there ever was a horse. Too bad. So, we were talking about what I do right now. Often it's labeled as digital architecture, and I think it is not, and it is just architecture. It's design, and I think, again, what the iPhone has shown us is that design not only matters, but design can change. Thank you.
Wow.
Two guys walk in a bar. Mark, thank you for inviting me to be part of this. If I suck, you can blame Nicole. But what I wanted to say, I think this is about LA and how this city is so innovative in its own way. LA always gets a bad rap. It always gets compared to New York City, gets compared to London, gets compared to Tokyo or Paris for fashion or whatever. But I think that LA holds its own in all aspects. I remember when I first came to this city, it was my first time coming to the United States back in 1992, almost 22 years ago. And I stepped outside, I got out of the terminal, I see the theme building in the background, I see the beautiful palm tree on the left. I'll never forget this. And this vibrant, traffic going up and down LAX, and I'm like, geez, this is the future. I mean, this is a theme building. I mean, what other city has that building? I mean, LA is the birthplace of mid-century design. When you think about, the Eames, Lautner, Gehry, all these guys, they started, and they still live, and with the exception of the people who passed on, but they still live and thrive and create stuff here in Los Angeles.